to meet you today. I'm glad that you're here, and I know we're about to have a good time. What we're going to be talking about here is a book that Nikki introduced me to that's called Who, Not How. And basically, the premise is, in a nutshell, is how we can become a lot more successful if we incorporate the right people with us to move us along in our vision, as opposed to us trying to do it all by ourselves, which we've been sold an idea that we really don't need other people. But in reality, the people who are the most successful are those who incorporate other people in their dreams and move along together. So I think that's a great idea, and I think we can have a great time discussing that.
Yes. So tonight, Dr. Kornegay, we have Leslye Kornegay with us. I want to introduce my co-host, Mr. Rich Milholm, also known as Ricky or Rich.
Dun, dun, dun,
And he is my selected who. So today we're talking a little bit about who, not how, as an important feature of what is required for us to get the victories we want in our life. And we're enhancing that conversation with Dr. Leslye Kornegay, author of Leading to Change the World. And she's going to talk about, and we're going to connect it to why your why matters more than your title, right? So we all got titles. And I asked some of you today, and you can put them in the chat now. What's your title and why is that your title? So for example, I'm a graphic designer. Why am I a graphic designer? Because I love to be free and create, but I'm also a technical person, and I've been able to help so many lives and businesses doing that. So give it up for my co-host, Rich Milholm. I want you all to start putting in the chat who you are, where you're from in the chat. And Rich, you want to tell us about myself and what else we have in store for today?
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I've had the pleasure, the honor, and the glory to be friends with Nikki for close to somewhat. Oh, I better not say, because then you might get to pick her age and you'll break it down. It's been a long time we've been friends, and basically, she's probably one of the most hardest working entrepreneur that I've ever had the pleasure to work with and for. And also, she's a incredibly talented graphic artist. Um, she takes it very seriously. She's a very creative individual. She's also done things like poetry slams and run a poetry room. And she also has worked for, I don't know if you guys, maybe you're going to have to look this up. It's called TK Records, which was at one time a major record here down in Miami. And it was just it's where, I don't know if you guys remember a guy named KC and the Sunshine Band. He was one of the main artists there, but she worked for them and the iconic, I think it's called the Iconic Group. But anyway, it's just a lot of powerhouses down here. She's been affiliated with a very sundry amount of individuals that have been famous. And the one thing about Nikki is she's always going to be moving forward. She has a insatiable appetite to become better. And that's why we've been friends this long.
Yeah.
Back to you.
That's why I do appreciate you, Rich, being here with me. I asked you to browse the book of Who, Not How. And I just wanted to share what really came out of it for me is my realization that I had not had the right who's in my life. And I was holding on so tight to my idea of success and how it needed to look for me. And as I started hearing discussion about these principles of find the right who and let the who's take care of the how. I had always heard people talking about delegating, but I didn't like that term because it sounds like I'm dumping, in my mind, it correlated with I'm going to dump my work on you. And so in my mind, I thought I could get all the work done. The book that I wrote, Side Hustle Glow Up, I wrote after the realization is I'm going to burn out. I'm going to kill myself. I'm going to drink too many Red Bulls. I'm going to work too much. I'm going to starve myself. And I'm going to have the blackest bags under my eyes. And I don't want that for me. And I don't want that for anyone else. And I've seen my family members, my mother, many women just having to do the most. And I said, there's got to be another way. And so I started thinking about purpose and I also started thinking about the why we're talking about today. But another key factor was who will you do this with, right? If you're trying to build something, if you're building a legacy, if you're building a pyramid, if you're building a house, you don't want to be doing that by yourself. So in your honor, and I just wanted to share with people why you are here with me, for those that didn't know you before we came to this project. When I surveyed my mind of all the people who I knew would take this seriously, what it meant to help ourselves become greater and help other people become greater, you were the best who that I could think of. And so I'm so happy for you to be on this journey with me and bring it out. So I wanted to open a little bit with the first thing that got me in this particular book by Dan Sullivan, or inspired by Dan Sullivan, is the story about Michael Jordan. And so he starts off with Michael Jordan played on the Bulls for 6 seasons before he ever saw a championship. So it wasn't until after that that Phil Jackson added Scottie Pippen to the equation. Then I even remember you started seeing Michael passing the ball to Pippen, right? And Pippen taking it and he's making the score. But the Detroit Pistons were very good at triple teaming, double teaming Michael Jordan, and often until they would put him out of the game. And it kind of correlates to us. We superpower people who can do a lot, but you're still getting put out of the game. And it wasn't until then when Phil Jackson created what he called the triangle, that triad, that strength around Michael Jordan. And Michael Jordan really became a team player, learned how to pass the ball. He learned how to even be a leader as a player. And he could get the score, and if he couldn't, he passed it to his partner that he knew was going to take care of and knew how to take care of making that goal. So that was the most inspiring. And so then it brought to us, if Michael Jordan needed that, one of the greatest players that we know, would we have even known Michael Jordan if he had never come into that space where he was actually learning to trust the who and his coach? If he was not able to trust his trainer, top trainer, to tell him what to do, and he wasn't able to trust his partners, his team players. And so I see often now, I want to give a shout out to all my NAMBPWC sisters that have been watching and supporting, along with Dr. Kornegay, and many others have been supporting us since we started this. But I see in business and professional people often this competitiveness, which is natural. I think some of us are born with it. Unfortunately, sometimes we get competitive even with our partners. And that's the wrong place, I think, to be competitive, right? Unless it's a fun game. But really, oftentimes it's just sabotaging our efforts. So I want you to talk about what was your takeaway, if there's anything I said, or what are you getting from that who, not how, the importance of that right now?
Well, I'm glad you came up with the professional and the competitiveness, because my background is the finances, and that is probably one of the most competitive arena that you can get involved with. And because I have a perfect suntan, and where I was actually working at, they didn't have the suntan like I did. Usually, I would be the one or two individual in there, and so not only was I competing against other individuals, sometimes I was competing against people that look like me. And the thing that struck me in the book was there was an opportunity for us to become partners, but the other individual didn't want to get involved. And it made it very weird to me, because it made no sense, because I knew that I could work. I knew that I was smart. And I had only one thought in mind, is that no one was going to outwork me. You may be smarter, you may have more accolades, but you can't outwork me. And doing that, it made me very successful, but it also made me alone. And a lot of times when we're going into these arenas where we want to bring our vision to fruition, we're so busy thinking that we have to do it all by ourselves. But even Noah didn't build the ark by himself. So it doesn't make sense for us to get into a position where we think that we have to do it all. And this book, my goodness, is such a powerful revelation of how you need other people to help. As a matter of fact, you said the Michael Jordan story. The story that I felt really touched me was about, I think the child name was Michael. He wanted to make some money. So he didn't want to go knocking on doors and cutting grass and something like that. He wanted to make a large sum of money. I think he was something like age 13 or something like that. So he didn't know how he was going to do it. And he was sitting there, and then he asked his father, he says, I'm trying to make some money, but I know how I can make some money. And his father tells him, well, why don't you go to the store and get, see if they will donate their misshapen watermelons.
Mm-hmm.
And he thought about it and says, okay, I'll do it. He went, he got the misshapen watermelons, thinking that nobody would want those watermelons, and he cut them up and then he sold them as a
Mm-hmm.
juice. And he
Okay.
made money. And a
Okay.
lot of times we're trying to do all the thinking by ourselves, but if we just go to someone else and let them help us, they can put
Mm.
us in a position where the bottom line is he wanted to make money. It didn't matter about the how. It just needed who was going to help him. And his father gave him an idea that he would have never thought about because as a child, he's not thinking that anybody wants the misshapen watermelon, but the father understood the opportunity. And
Mm.
that was a great thing. So that's what really touched my heart when I read that story that and that's why I'm here with you now, because we've done so many different things together and we've been fairly successful in everything that we've done. But now we're going into another arena. And if there's ever been a chance for me to understand what it's going to take for us to be successful, there's going to have to be a lot of trust, right?
Yeah.
And you're going to have to humble yourself, even though you might be years old. Uh,
You're
but you're
gonna
gonna
have
have
to
to
humble
humble.
yourself.
You're gonna have to humble. I was talking about me. I'm
Okay,
sorry, I was
okay,
talking
okay.
about me.
Yeah, I know. Me too.
Okay. Yeah, I have to humble myself and say to myself, do I believe in the vision? Do
Right,
I understand the vision?
right.
And is the vision something that I'm willing to put my heart, mind, body, and soul to? And if I can answer yes to those three things, then sometimes I need to just follow because I'm so used to being a leader, it's hard to give up the reins. But in this case, it's something that I have to learn so that I can become a better leader. And that's what I took out of it.
Okay, wow. So I'm going to work in our guest today. Okay. Dr. Leslye Renee Kornegay is a powerhouse leader whose journey proves that the purpose outweighs position and from running
Mm.
floors to making moves from housekeeper to director to doctor of education. She's the definition of can't stop, won't stop. And at every
Mm.
stage, she's defied the odds, building platforms where others once closed doors, giving the tools to push past the obstacles and carve out a new lane. She is living proof that your why will always be bigger than your title. I want y'all out there to give a virtual round of applause for Dr. Leslye Kornegay. And I'm going to open up with you, Dr. Kornegay, in this conversation as we work our way. Tell us about who are some of your who's or one special who that is important to you, and maybe a little bit of what we're talking about in the necessity of trust.
Hmm. So first of all, I want to thank you for that wonderful introduction. Can you introduce me everywhere I need to be introduced? I loved it. Um, so who is that person for me? I got to tell you, Nikki, it's myself. Okay, and it took a
Mm.
long time to get there. To have confidence in Leslye, to um, be able to recognize that I have things to share beyond the job that I do. That there are people that actually want to hear my experiences and um, so on. So um, I would say that I would say myself.
Okay. So I'm going to challenge you today before we're done. We're going to have some more questions for you in the end to hear about if you could ask someone, right? If you could find someone who is a who, but I'm gonna let that marinate. I'm gonna let that marinate. I want to talk a little bit about your book I've got here for everybody, Leading to Change the World.
Mm-hmm.
So this is something I've been helping you on. You are a consultant, you have a foundation, you have a couple of things going, you have quite a bit going on. You want to tell us a little bit about what you have going on so then we can work our way back to who could you use at this time? But tell us about the book.
Sure. So the book uh, took a couple of years, and it grew out of some earlier work that I had done. But I saw a real opportunity to go ahead and put it, publish it because of what I was seeing on social media and my interactions with um, Black women, in associations and things of that nature. Some of the experiences that they were having. And, I felt like, okay, there's what they're talking about is not new. The challenges, the concerns and things that they're going through. And I thought, there's not a lot of body of work because that's what I ran into when I did my work on my dissertation on this topic. And so, maybe I needed to put it in to a non-peer review kind of publication.
See,
So
now you're using them big words, and the PhDs be using,
uh,
but it sounds
well,
great.
just basically the kind of reading that I wouldn't have picked up before I started doing my doctoral studies, right? Where, the scientists or the researchers, they vet your work and it's accepted amongst that group. Okay. Well, the average reader is not going to look at that unless it's something that has been um, really successful. And there are a couple of things that have, but they don't really look at the research. They actually see the outcome. So that was the main driver for me to go ahead and at least get it published. And it's interesting that the one of the things that I talk about in the book was the time that I was born and the things that have happened over my life that have impacted me or not impacted me. It might have been on a social level or a economic level, but in turn for Black people and for Black women, I've been fortunate enough to been born at a time where, I've experienced segregation, integration, and just seeing the evolvement of our people, right? So I published this in September of 2024. And, I was really trying to be positive. Yes, we've seen a lot of changes, Obama, that kind of stuff. But also being honest and saying, okay, we still got a long ways to go. And then we have our new president and all of the things that are happening now. So I thought that the topic, one of the topics in the book was very timely for now. Because one of the things that I talk about in the book is that on my birth certificate, it says Negro.
Okay.
And I made the decision as an adult that I was not going to remove that. Okay. And, it looking at what we're going through now and where we have been, I'm very proud of the Negroes that got me to this point. Okay. So I'm not very offended by that word, especially when it's spoken amongst my people. Okay. So that's the reason why I wrote the book. There's a lot more in there, but that's the main reason.
So I'm going to try to rephrase what I think you're getting at. You had experiences based on the time that you were born, the times that you grew up, the experiences you went through in your career. And you saw that through the obstacles you went through, there was some hope, direction you can give from your unique perspective. Now, I know you told me part of your growing up was in Japan. That's in the book, right? And you talked even a bit too how the culture was so different, and then coming back to the US and the different, just the clear difference in culture. So maybe I want to ask a little bit back to the who's. When I'm hearing people talk about different cultural issues, I'm wondering how in certain groups the attitudes towards adding or working with other people. What do you see different in the Japanese culture, in the US culture? I've never had the luck yet to go to Japan, but what do you think is different just generally in the attitude of how Japanese possibly work together in comparison to the US?
So they're more we and humble, as opposed to Americans are more I and ego, and like Texans, the more you have, that kind of thing. And I guess you could say they're more community. Okay, so a lot of the leadership models that are Japanese focus on, the team concepts. So that would be probably the biggest thing.
Okay. I'm gonna give a quick shout out. We got Chris Pomay, and I know he's got his show coming up shortly, so he won't be able to stay with us, but he has his own show, and I will be joining him on the Chris Pomay show on September 8th. So I'll let you all know about that later. We got Tobias Ferguson. Oh, Chris is calling from Canada. I don't want to say Toronto, but he's gonna choke me. Toronto, near Toronto. Okay, I got it. And then we got Lakita from Atlanta, and we had from Colorado Springs. And that thing disappeared too. Okay, we'll come back to that. But Rich, wake up now, wake up, get alive. Let me get my horn at. Y'all falling asleep. Okay, get back in the game. Back in the game.
I'm intrigued.
Okay.
I would like to ask a question if that's okay.
Maybe.
All right, I'll wait.
I don't like your tone. I get it. No, go ahead.
Please do, Rich. Richard or Rich?
Dr. Kornegay, I want to say that I am honored to be in your presence. It is always great to know that someone has had the foresight to leave something behind so that the following generations can pick up and follow behind their greatness. So thank you for sharing your greatness to the coming communities and social classes that are going to come behind you, that hopefully pick up what you have put down and take it much, much further. So I want to thank you for that, and I feel honored to be here to ask you a question.
Thank you.
My question for you is this. I haven't met an author yet in my life who doesn't have another book somewhere inside of them. What is the next book that you are thinking about, maybe just considering on writing, and what would the subject matter be about at that point?
There's actually two. One would be, because with the book that I have out now stopped in 2012. So there's a lot more in my experience leading in PWI. There are people that actually want to hear. Oh, what happened with that? I wasn't talking and it said that.
We hear you.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, it would be kind of a follow-up. I just want to make sure that I'm no longer working in my current full-time role before I write that book.
Right.
And then the other thing that I've been thinking about that I'm very interested in is wellness for just Black people in general. And it's the kind of wellness that you don't necessarily get from your insurance, right? There are a lot of things out here that we can do for ourselves, but it costs money. And that's where my foundation comes in as well. But with the wellness piece, you don't get to this place without having some uh, wounds, uh, that you have carried, that have either healed or not, but that have impacted your body in some way. And so I have a number of stories around things that have impacted my health, and it was due to stress.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that I knew what stress was. It catches up with you. If it doesn't get you right away, it catches up with you, and it can come out in all sorts of ways that you wouldn't believe. So the body holds everything, okay? And that is something that we as Black people, just walking out the door, your home, okay? You're facing things and people and situations that don't necessarily want you involved. And so all of that over time impacts us. And so I want to talk about that because I know that there are a lot of people dealing with things besides the normal risk factors for Blacks that historically we haven't always had to deal with. Okay. So that would be the next book.
So let me ask you this because I would like a little, if you can give me a little bit more clarity. So basically, would you say that you've had any type of support system along this journey? And if you did, who would you say was your biggest supporter on your journey?
I would say no. My biggest supporter was someone that had nothing to do with my career.
Okay.
But she was my biggest supporter until she passed away, and that was my mother.
Okay.
She actually could, she worked in corporate America, kind of understood. And so while she may not have known like the details or the nuances of what my job entailed, the behaviors that would come out of the discussion of others and some of the things that I was dealing with, she could talk to me about that.
Okay.
Yes, I had friends. What I will say is this. It's a road once you go down it. When you're dealing with disgruntled employees that, for whatever reason, are not happy with decisions that you make, that they compromise every system and they carry you along with it. So you become the person that has a lot of allegations, and you are guilty until proven innocent. So I've had some situations take years to get through. That's how long it took, went on. And I was always vindicated because I always try to, make sure that I'm doing the right things. But one of the things that I found in the literature when I was doing my research is that that's something that Black women and Black men, we fall victim to all the time in the workplace. And it is a lot, it can be a lot of pressure, even though you're right, because people don't always do the right things. So yes, I've had people that I've been close to that I talk to, but I will also tell you, and you probably know this for yourselves, if I come to you and that's something that's like really bothering me and I'm talking about it all the time, you're gonna start distancing yourself from me because you're gonna say, you know what, that ain't my assignment. Okay. I mean, because it's like you listen to it for so long that it starts to become your problem too. Because you want this, you care for this person and you want to get them out of whatever's going on, but you don't have no power. Okay. So a lot of these kinds of things I went through by myself. Yeah.
Well,
So,
thank you for your candor.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
I appreciate that.
I think a lot of us have to go through that before we realize we have to do something different. You know, we watch the pain that other people go through by insisting on doing it their way and doing it by themselves, and having a who in your life really kind of requires to open up and let go. And that's really scary. You know, we know personally it's scary, right? And then
Well, Nikki, that's the kind of thing on social media that I was seeing that the young women were talking about, being victimized on the job, or
yeah,
leaving a job because of very similar kinds of things.
hmm
And, you know, I just felt like, you know what, you've been through this, you know, and I wish somebody had been there to, uh,
protect you,
yeah, or show me like, you know what, this is kind
teach you.
of like what we got to go through.
Yeah.
But, you know, there's a way to get through it. So yeah.
But I think sometimes when we realize, I was just talking with a friend about this, when we realize or we feel that people haven't been there for us in crucial times, then we also, based on that pain or that trauma, we leave walls that then when there is someone who can help us, we block them out, right? It's
Mm.
not knowingly. And I'm not going to go that much deep because you already went there. I'm going to do my air horn. I'm going to do my air horn and let us reboot for a second. And I got what we're gonna have called our Glowtime Questions, Dr. Kornegay. So
Okay.
Rich, you know, get a hype. I'm gonna ask some Glowtime questions, right? And I want you to try to answer as quickly as possible. And I know you're a PhD, so that's hard to do now. But just gotta free associate if you can. And it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun, trust me.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now glow time.
Okay. One question number one. If you were unstoppable, what would you do right now?
Okay, and the clarifying question, or does it matter?
It doesn't matter. Here we go. Reboot. Okay. If you were living a dream of your life, what would the day be? A dream day of your life. What was the best day of your life? What day would that be on your calendar?
I don't think it's come yet, but I think one of the more gratifying days is when I was able to start an endowment in my mother's name.
Okay, and I know you started that, so that would definitely be a celebration to start that legacy. If you were louder and prouder, what would you say out loud?
You know, this may sound cliche, but I am Black and I am proud.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Wait a minute. If you were not afraid, what would you do?
That's a hard question because God has worked with me, and fear is not something that is, I try to keep in my vocabulary.
Okay.
I had a lot of fear before because of the things I was going through, but I've worked through that. So And you know what fear is, an enemy of. So, um,
Okay.
yeah.
If you had unlimited amounts of money, what would you do?
Well, I would set up more scholarships, especially in HBCUs, and I would start a um, academy anyway, but
Mm.
involving a lot of these things I could see doing with others, not just trying to do by ourselves. Um, but one of the things that has not happened a lot in this country is we always go outside of this country to do things, and we have people right here, you know, in the inner cities and in the rural areas and that sort of thing that, don't have a warm meal, you know, a bed to sleep in, that kind of thing. And so I would be, there would be more um, in an organized way, charitable work, because right now, especially during these times, that's the only way that we're going to have to help each other as a community. And so I would do more of that kind of work, working with people to do that, to build homes, you know, um, for those that can't afford it. Um, I mean, I travel. There's places I have not been.
Or to ask one more question, then we're gonna open it up for the audience to ask you some questions, okay?
Yep.
And this is my final question for you, madam.
Okay.
Why does your why matter more than your title?
Why does my why matter more than the title? Because it was never about the title for me. I never wanted to be a leader. And, you know, it's, I talk about it in the book, but I tried my best to get out of the profession that I'm in because of the stereotype. But God had a plan, and it has been the best thing that could have ever happened to me. So, you know, when you try to get out of something and you can't get out of it, there's a plan.
You gotta do it.
Yeah.
You don't have a choice. You've been voluntold. All right, I'm gonna turn it up. I want anybody that's listening that has questions for Dr. Kornegay, I want you to throw them out there. I am gonna give a few shots out as those questions come in, should you have them. We do have Dr. Bill. He's on the Facebook side tonight. You'll say hi to Dr. Bill. Dr. Bill is gonna be rebranding and rebuilding his podcast over based in Panama. So y'all watch out for him. We have Tobias in Colorado Springs. We have folks in Atlanta tonight. So we got a few people. Chris there, how you doing, Rich?
I'm doing good. Thanks for calling me.
How you doing, Rich? And for those that want to see Chris's show, it's based out of Canada. The links are in the chat. Anybody with questions for Dr. Kornegay, put them in the chat. I gotta make sure all my things are loading. Like, so y'all see me going back and forth. That's what I'm looking at. And so Dr. Bill said he would definitely donate to Palestine and food for starving children. Okay, I like that. All right, so, and then I did promise, I do have a signed autograph book from Dr. Kornegay. So Dr. Kornegay, you're gonna have to decide what would you require? What do we need our audience to do to get this signed autograph? You see that signature right in there? What do they have to do to get this book? And where to get it online and where to find out more about you? Tell us.
Mm-hmm. So you can find the book in most outlets. The easiest find is on Amazon. You can go to my website, Kornegay consultant with a K.com. You can get the book from there, but Barnes and Nobles, anywhere where they sell books, especially online.
Okay, you do have all the links on your website and your social media as well. What are you on Facebook? Since most of the people here are on Facebook.
Kornegay Consultant on Facebook and on Instagram.
Okay, so they can DM you, they can go to the website, they can do all of that. All right, so let me see. Do we have a challenge, Rich? You got a challenge with what should I have these folks do to see if they want to get this book? Let's see.
Ask them who has already purchased a ticket to the boot camp.
Oh, I forgot about boot camp. Yeah,
That's why I'm here.
the boot. Thank you, dear. Boot camp is next week, Saturday, August
Yes.
30th. If anybody, first person, that's what I do. First person to get a ticket to boot camp, I will make sure to get them Dr. Kornegay's signed book, Leading to Change the World. The boot camp cost is around $97. But if you do go to my website, superflyers.biz/boot camp, there's a 50% off right now. And if you're really nice to me, and you DM me, I'll give you another possible side. But it's going to be Rich, myself, and Stephanie LaStella. And I'll make sure you all will see the promos tonight for that. It's going to be really good. It's 3 hours and 1 bonus hour. And it's to make sure that you are shining up in the social media space. I don't want you all to forget, there's 8 million people on this planet. And a lot of us are using social media like it's just a toy. And we are really losing the opportunity to bolster our businesses, our platforms, even just our voice. Now, like I wanted to remind from last week, these platforms do have rules, and it'd be to your advantage to work within that structure. But there's a lot of lost opportunity right now. So I try to step out there to show you what I'm doing. If you want to do a boot camp, I'll help you do a boot camp. And this boot camp will be the start of learning how to do that. So again, superflyers.biz/boot camp, or DM me in my box for more information. First one I see and I have proof of, you get Dr. Kornegay's book. Also, within your purchase, you'll get my book as well, Side Hustle Glow Up, how to turn creativity and your creativity into a bankable business. So thank you, Dr. Kornegay. Let's see who else we got on here. Rich, do you have any final question?
Yeah, I'd like to ask Dr. Kornegay another question, if that's okay.
Yes.
Ma'am, I'd like to know, do you know why the Scarecrow was given an award?
Because he did not have a heart, right?
No, because he was outstanding in his field like you.
Oh.
You're outstanding.
On The Wizard of Oz, which one was it that didn't have a heart? Was it the Scarecrow?
That was the Tin Man. No, that was the lion. That was the coward.
The lion had the
lion.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ooh, we gotta get our culture. We gotta get our stories right. That was a good
No, we should have said the Wiz.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm just acting.
Outstanding
we gotta
in his
get Dr. Kornegay some who's, just like me. I really admire. I've worked with her on several of her projects, and I haven't met any woman in recent years that I see out here working as hard, just caring, actually for real, giving back, not just talking about giving back. And I personally am attracted to that when I see other people just doing the work. And she's just a standing and stand-up woman. So thank you for joining us. And we would love to have you back someday when we start on that next book. And we're gonna get you some who's. We need all of us. We need to at least get that try in, right? You plus
Yes.
one plus God, that might work, right? But allowing that space to open up, so we can get you that relief that we all have needed, and deserve. Oh, Lakita out of Atlanta says, where are you located, Dr. Leslye?
I'm located in Durham, North Carolina.
Okay.
Okay, North Carolina, North Kakalaki.
Yes.
Mhm.
And she's just outstanding. She's been speaking at our convention. She's just, when she came in and hit the ground running, never given an excuse. I love that, right? Because as you said, Rich, I know I aggravate people, and I give a lot of unsolicited advice. I do, and I'm learning that back to the who, not how. Even in the receivers, right? I'm giving free advice to people who don't want it, when there's another who really probably could appreciate it. So I'm learning, reach out to those who are reaching towards me, right? That's a sensible thing to do, so that we don't get upset, we don't get frustrated. There is the right who out there, and sometimes we fall short. And one of my friends was talking about the other day, I went from 1,000 friends on Facebook 3 months ago. I'm about to hit around the 5,000 mark. Of those 5,000, and then that 3 months just grew work, we grew this platform. This grew more visibility for things like the boot camp. And I really want to show other people how to do that, but only if that's going to be useful to them. But if they have a business, and as a graphic designer, I've seen businesses out there struggling. Actually, there was somebody that DM'd me. It's like, here, go to my website. And I guess I could have been wrong, but I said, good job. I said, you did it. You do it yourself? Because I kind of knew they did it themselves. And he said, yeah. And I said, okay. But I said, well, you might wanna, you got some extra space here. You got some things floating around there. It's not the look that you want to portray, right? So people do judge on how things look. And so it's not to abash the hard work that we put in. Because like I said, but it's clear when we're working by ourselves, we're gonna mess up. And when we've been working by ourselves, we'll think, well, that's good enough. And good enough is good now. Good, at least good enough gets it done. That's a start. But don't leave it at good enough, right? And then again, so I just want to encourage everybody, think about the best who in your life right now.
Well,
And
that's
then,
excellent
and
point.
if they're not in your life, think about who would be the best who that you need to go out and find.
Or who is the best who that you can be, so that you can be that for somebody else.
Yes, but it is also, I was also talking today about, I believe, and this, I know Dr. Bill told me about them beliefs, but I believe that naturally we were created to connect, right? We have eyes to see, the visually touch, ears to hear, that's a hit on the eardrum, nose to smells, skin to receive, hands to grab. And we do, oftentimes when we're afraid, we do everything but connect. I was joking with Rich, because when he gets a little testy, he started looking up in the sky. I said, Rich, back right here. Come back, come back. So when we get angry, frustrated, just challenge, we disconnect. Right? And it is a vulnerable place for us to open up to people, not knowing where we're going with this. So even like these questions, I know they make you a little uncomfortable. I want us all to try a practice of finding somebody you can trust. It almost represents our relationship with God. If there's no human around us that we can trust, then do we trust God? I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying, let's ponder on that. Because if we don't believe that God exists in us and in this world around us, then that's a pretty scary place to be in. So what I really love about you said, the why. Why am I doing what I'm doing? If I'm clear about my why or my purpose, and I can trust that my higher power is guiding me, I can move a little bit better without fear. And I can say, oh, I'm sorry, I got to tell this story. One of the great features of when I'm really just friends with Rich years ago, Rich called me on Mother's Day one year. He said, hey, I got something for you. I said, well, what is it? He says, I got AAA for you. AAA for Mother's Day? What am I going to do with AAA, Rich? He said, well, I got that for all my friend girls. I go, but I'm not getting it. And in my head, my fear, I was like, oh, you know, men be doing stuff because they got strings attached. And I was like, I don't need no AAA. He said, you a mother, aren't you? He said, do you have AAA? I said, no. He said, well, what's the problem with it? He said, you know what's wrong with you? He said, there's a cycle in the universe of giving and receiving, and you're slowing it down.
Mm-hmm.
Get your butt out the way. And it hit me immediately. He was dead on. That I was that, hey, Dr. Robert, I was talking about you on your website. But Dr. Robert went and made the changes. But I want us to make a practice with one person. Remember that game they used to play when you fall backwards and see if somebody's going to catch you?
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
want us
trust.
to try that in our everyday lives. And this book, Who Not How, kind of reminds us that there are people here that we could trust. We don't see them because we got our eyes closed to it, right? And our hearts closed to it. But just try it. And so as I have been practicing, bringing some good who's back into my life, it's been wonderful, right? And it really, if you have already been through the worst probably that we could ever go through, most of us have, right? It was, I wish you would, right? So, but we can think more positive and say, you know, God has some blessings for us. And if the hand is closed tight like this, I can't receive. I can't receive. And so God did bless us with some great people. So let's give them a chance to be our who's, or go find some other who's.
You know, I do think it depends on a lot on where you're at in your journey. Because some of what we talked about tonight, depending on the age, may need more or less. But one of the things that, you know, I'm saying, and, you know, not pointing fingers or anything, but, you know, a lot of people that are more senior, you know, they feel it, they've got theirs, they've done theirs. I'm done.
Yeah.
You know? And, you know, what I say to that is, this is where our wisdom needs to be shared amongst our community. Now is the time for that.
Yes.
Not kicking back, boots on the ground.
I think this is a wonderful time
Yeah.
to bond, right? Like I only heard stories about those days when I was a child. However, they were a beautiful fantasy in my mind. And also around the time when I first met Rich, I was doing stuff like with the poetry, spoken word, whole family we got in Dallas, Florida. We were doing, I think I did my first nonprofit. It was called We Hear You. We were trying to think of a way that, since we got these poets that like to talk all the time, can we listen to the kids? So we gave youth a platform that whatever they wanted to do, they wanted to rap, they wanted to talk, they wanted whatever, walk side to side. And then we gave them backpacks and stuff, but it wasn't just backpack giveaways. Like, we want them to know we hear you, we're watching you, we're listening to you, and we will guide you, right? And you don't even have to be my child. I don't care whose child you are, right? I bring, come on, right? And so, or you don't have to be my man for me to sit there and have a conversation with you. You don't have to be my friend as a woman for me to interject myself and say, hey, can we talk, right? Or if I notice something, they say, if you see something, say something, right? So that I don't know if my generation ever really had that. You know, the Gen X is kind of like F the police and but right. We were born loners and latchkey kids, so we kind of grew up with that fight in us and resistance in us. But I think we fantasized about this concept of community, and I don't know, you know, I think, but I do want us to move to a place where we need to take action. So even with the who, not how, moving with the cheese, we have to read between the lines. We have to be more intelligent than we have been. And we have to give each other the credit, right? And I remember one thing I noticed when I was younger, getting into groups, I would often see this group criticizing that group's approach, right? If this approach was more about financial, or this approach was more about spiritual, or this approach was more about community action. And I was like, we need all the help we can get. Let the folks do how they want to do,
Mhm.
And that's, and so like, we don't have to force people to take the same direction. I just think we need to take action. And so I will let you give some closing words, Rich and Dr. Kornegay. I put Dr. Kornegay, and if you can see the Facebook, Dr. Kornegay, I did tag you in the chat. They were asking for your contact. So please make sure you get a chance to follow up. Dr. Robert Taylor is in the house. We got a lot of doctors. Dr. Bill. Next time y'all can start calling me Dr. Nikki. And you got Dr. Rich. And we got Chris. Oh, we're gonna change this over to the doctor. You what closing thoughts, Dr. Kornegay and Rich?
Ma'am, it's on you.
Sure. I would just say that I think that this platform that you two have put together and the guests that you've invited, while I don't always make the shows, I do try to, watch the recordings.
Thank you.
That I appreciate what you're doing, and I think your following will continue to grow. So I wish you the best at that. In terms of the topic tonight, I would just say to the audience that, we're in a time and period where we all need to think about what we can do to contribute, no matter how small, okay? There are things that we can do, and don't get so bogged down by the camouflage things that are being thrown out there. Just focus on the things that are really impactful, and there are quite a few of them. So things like voting. If you don't vote, please make sure you vote this in the primaries and everything else. But politics aside, it's got us into where we're at now. And so we can't totally overlook it. Okay. And there's so much more, but again, as a community, we haven't always been seen as a community. And I think shows like this help to, bridge us closer. And so I appreciate what you all are doing.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much.
You're
Thank you.
welcome. You're welcome.
When I hear you speaking, ma'am, what I hear is what is one of my pet peeves, and you've made it so clear that it's going to be easier to pass the message down the road. A lot of times we hear older, but we don't hear elders.
Mm-hmm.
And the way you're speaking with the wisdom that you're imparting into us, that's what we're looking for. We're looking for the elders, not the olders, not the ones like you mentioned earlier who have given up or who have already made their mark on the planet and think they don't have to do anything else, and that if they talk, we're supposed to listen. No, we want to still see you, hear you, touch you, be able to feel your presence, because in our community, that's always been something that we've been able to pass down one to another, and that's what makes us strong. But as they get to the point where we're no longer in a position where we can trust the elders, then we also end up disrespecting the elders because we don't know the difference. So everything you said today, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, because we need to hear more of that type of wisdom being disseminated amongst us, because even I can appreciate something that beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I was gonna say, what about the youngsters versus the youth? But I put, community is a decision. Like, again, don't lose this opportunity. The opportunities that we have to connect, let's keep taking advantage of them. I saw somebody going on the website, so I'll let you guys know in the chat who got the book. And we some of you next week at the boot camp, 4 hours now. I'm not gonna take it easy. You're gonna see the other me next week. Okay, 4 hours, 3 hours, and a bonus hour, break in the middle. Rich, myself, and Stephanie Leslye Don't miss it. I promise you, you're going to get more than what you came for, and you're going to leave with a mindset to move forward and stop telling me you don't want to turn your camera on no more. Okay? I love everybody. Rich, I'm glad everybody tapped in, and I will see you next week. And
Y'all take care. Be blessed.
all righty.
Bye.
That was great. Thank you, God. Thank you, God.